Good morning, everyone. So nice to see you in office hours. I already see that we have all of our regulars in the chat already. Hi, guys. Thank you so much for coming always. With me, I have August, who is our interactive engineer, and he's coming back with another awesome tips. So excited to see you guys. Hi, August. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. How are you, Celine?
I heard that you were on some fun trip last week. How was the trip?
Oh, yeah, it was great. I went to Oakland and San Francisco,
Ooh.
and yeah, it was great. I got to see a lot of friends.
Does a lot of your friends live in the Bay Area?
I used to work in San Francisco and live in Oakland, so I have a lot of people that I was friends with a long time ago, and I just kind of keep up with
Mm,
them every once in a while. So it was nice to finally visit them after a really long time.
yeah, that's really nice. I see that the chat is popping today. Libardo says hello. Haley Catpot says hello. We also have Reem, Sasha, Alma, everybody, Tasty Links, Relax No Name. So thank you so much, guys, for attending. Wow, I love how so vibrant emojis they are today. We already have a question today. Oh my gosh, from Haley Kapaz. Is getting face texture from 3D face binding mesh as performance intensive as using face inset?
Face inset. I don't think so. If you're going to use the 3D face already, I don't think it's a big thing. But if you are using that texture and you don't actually care about the 3D face at all, and you're just using it to get that texture, that might be in my opinion, that would be like too heavy for the goal that it's accomplishing. I would just use like head segmentation, or if your effect really calls for face inset, then you should use face inset. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Sasha in the chat says, "What novelty does August have for us today? Surprise us."
Oh, do you want to see? I've been
What?
taking a sewing class, and I made myself a headphone bag in the last one.
Whoa.
And if you know anything about fashion, it has a YKK zipper, fancy. And look at the inside.
Oh my gosh. That's so cool.
Yeah, we covered zippers last week, so I'll be making my own pants soon.
Oh, actually, totally on a unrelated note, I've also been looking at sewing recently because I have a old sewing machine that's been abandoned for quite a while, and I've been wanting to pick up sewing again. And I was thinking of making some traditional hanbok, which is Korean dress. And so, in order to do that, there's a place in Pasadena that sells thrifted craft supplies. So I went thrifting for craft supplies, bought a bunch of like fabric. So maybe you guys will get a handbook dress out of me in a couple weeks. So stay tuned for that, and stay tuned for August's very heavily zippered pants.
Jinko brand, probably, maybe even the
Oh, definitely, yeah.
big elephant style.
Uh, Projo AR Filter says, "Was the inside of the headphone bag made with Material Editor?"
Yeah, it's a tiled material with the new draw mode,
Uh-huh.
using the new draw mode.
Okay, we have another question from Haley Kapaz. Kaylee Kapaz says, "Would 30 unlit materials be too performance heavy for a project?"
Uh, that's hard to say. That's hard to say. It's really important if you have these questions to test on mobile. And if you have multiple mobile devices, just test it, because some of these things you can't really know without really testing it and getting some points of reference. But that does sound like a lot. I would be careful. I wouldn't invest too much time into the final product. I would do it incrementally and test as you go. Yeah.
Okay, what is the least performance impacting material at the moment?
Definitely, it's always going to be unlit because it's not using any lights, and it's basically just a screen space kind of flat uh, thing usually. So there's a lot less going on with that. Like a PBR material needs to account for normals and lighting and roughness and all these different things. And those are each separate functions that are happening in the shader in the code, like when it's rendering on the screen. And it's doing that like per pixel. So one good tip that you might think of is how much of the screen is my object taking up and how many vertices does it have. If you have a cube that barely has any vertices, but it's taking up the whole screen, like it's in the background of your whole effect, then that's still going to be writing to every single pixel. And that's a lot of code. So you have to think about that. So if you have a cube that's just on the side and it's really small in the background, that could be a much more intense material, but it's only rendering on just those pixels. So it's going to be a lot less heavy in your effect. So that's maybe another tip to think about when you're designing your effect and where things are and how much of the screen they take up and all of that.
Yeah. Great advice. Thanks. Daily Dose of AR is joining us. Hi, Tariq. We have another question from Tasty Links. They are having network error every time in the Windows version. Tasty Links, we would love to help you try to solve this. So could you please give us a little more context? Like, where are you experiencing these network error issues? Is it when you're creating the AI, the portraits? Please let us know, because I know that if they don't detect a face, it might also pop up as network error as well. So make sure that you have a face when you're testing out that template. But please let us know, and we would love to help you. Oh, Lord is joining us. Lord says hi. Daniel also says hi as well. Oh, Filters Land said, hello, everyone. I started making tutorials for Effect House in my channel as well. Thank you so much for creating the tutorials. I can't wait to see them. Oh, zoomy cats. Okay, Libardo has a long question. Hello, I want to do an experience with multiple selections. For example, there are 3 assets for the head, and when selecting the asset that I like, it is activated in the example scene. It is activated in the head, and at the end, there's a OK button to activate the asset and select more. Oh, it would be similar to the, what's that called? Do you know New Jeans collab, the little characters? Powerpuff Girls. You know that effect, Powerpuff Me? There's an option where you can select your hair, select your face, select your outfit. I think that's what they're trying to do, but in 3D version. So, could you give us some tips on that?
Yeah, let's see. I guess it depends. How
before jumping in, I'm so sorry to cut you off, but on the template, I don't know if you saw, but now we have a randomizer 3D template, and it actually looks really cool. August here actually worked on it as well. But with the randomizer 3D, you can put a bunch of random 3D objects, and then it will spin around, and then the one that lands on you is going to be here, and then it will automatically so I think you can use that template mechanic in order to create something like your thing, or you can go and modify it so you can still use like the cool spinning features, but just replace it with your 3D assets. So I think that's one easy place to start. August, what did you want to say?
Oh, I'll just flip my statement, and that's exactly what I want to say. I like your idea.
I guess I gave a great tip.
Yeah. If you want to see what the 3D randomizer template looks like, I can show the part of the template where you would add your logic.
Mm-hmm.
So notice when you start this effect, you have a 3D randomizer, and it'll have all these planets spinning around your head, and then it will basically land on one, and then after it is closest, it'll like readjust it and reposition it, at which point this trigger will happen, and you can figure out which of these objects was selected, and you could have just like a little select array here, and uh, I guess it could be like, okay, so there's no scene object, but material or something. Um, and then you could plug in this index here to choose from the list. You could also use an array if you want to use scene objects. And then you would just, on this trigger, you would set the value and pull it from this list. And then you would just put in your correct one, like Earth, Jupiter, Mars, Mercury. You would just put them in the same order that are in your randomizer 3D hierarchy. And that would be a way to be like, okay, if it lands on Earth, I'm going to give them an Earth face material or something like that.
Yeah, this is a great way to keep track. Did you work on the subgraph?
Yeah, actually, I didn't do the final version. I did the functionality, and then we had another amazing template person make all of these subgraphs from my chaos. So this is an amazing setup. I really love all the options and everything, and it's really great.
I really respect all of the people who work on templates, because whenever I diverge into, like, do a deep dive and look into all of the subgraphs, they're so beautifully built that it is so easy to add your own feature, like functionalities, and modify them or take parts of them and use in my own project as well. So I always have a lot of respect, because sometimes when I'm creating my effect, I don't organize them as neatly. So later, when I'm going in and looking back on an old project, I'm like, how did I build this? I have no idea how I have built it. This is why you need to label your code. If you're a programmer, you would understand, but you have that nice like comment box, or make it into a subgraph. So
Yeah, so much goes into it.
now that in 3.0 we have the save subgraph as your own node feature, I've been just going into templates and stealing all of the subgraphs. I am extremely proud and happy. Haley Catpaw says someone should make a sewing effect. Actually, that would be so fun.
Have you seen the one where it's like Flappy Bird, but you're a thread going through needle holes?
Yes, I saw that. I think it
Yeah.
was created by, I think it was a Japanese creator who made that. And I tried that, and it was so difficult. I was like tapping on the screen so hard, but it would flop at the last moment, or it will go through the roof. And I was like so sad.
Yeah, I love the way they did the like line rendering as you go.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Also, another idea I had for a sewing effect is, a couple weeks ago we had one of our ambassadors, Jonathan, come out and explain how he did the cash register effect. But one of his famous effects is also, like, you have a circle and you're gonna try to draw a circle perfectly, and at the end it tells you how close you are, or like what percentage perfect is your circle. So that gave me a little inspiration for the sewing effect. We can also like render a line, so that every couple seconds you're making a little stitch, so you're trying to hold your phone as still as possible, and there's like a fabric beneath it, and then at the end you'll see like how straight your stitching is, and that could be your sewing effect, maybe.
Nice.
I have so many ideas, but I don't know, not enough time to make them. But I wonder if everybody's feeling the same way. Speaking of, I want to hear you guys' ideas for effects. Put them in the comments, and maybe you'll find someone to collaborate with, or we can tell you like some tips on how you should do it, or we can just applaud for you. So let us know. I want to hear what you guys are working on. I always think it's so interesting and amazing. Okay. Haley Catpaw says, thank you so much for the advice. Definitely going to try using some of these tips. I'm working on a piano tile game. What? Are you serious? That sounds so fun. Is it like when you're like clicking on it to play the piano, or is it like one of those rhythm games? I want to know. Please let us know. Oh, hi, Daniel. I see Daniel gave us a little hands up emoji. Swinging S has a question. Hello, good afternoon. Good afternoon to you as well. I wanted to know how to make a simple quiz effect. My idea are 6 options for song lyrics, and at the end, they show the correct percentage. I know we have a one-person quiz template, but I've been having a hard time modifying the template. Mm.
Am I think we can say this. Yeah, stay tuned. There's a new version of the one person quiz coming out that's a little more simplified for beginners. It's a little more honed in on just what you need to see in the visual scripting so that you can make adjustments instead of picking through a bunch of visual scripting. And then there is another one that will have the what you're talking about, the kind of this or that, the simplified version without the score and the timer and the correcting wrong answers. So I think that will fit kind of what you're going for a little bit more. I can show you what I would do if I were modifying it to do something
Wow,
like that.
guys, this is only on Effect House Live that you guys get a sneak peek of like the next what's coming. So make sure to tune in back. We might drop some secrets.
So I'm using the newest version 3.1. So you actually can see here this is greatly modified from the old version. The only things that we're exposing here are the questions and the correct and wrong answers. So for your question for something like this, if you're moving to like a this or that style, your question's not really going to change. Like you said, it's song lyrics, so it would just be the same question, like which song lyric, right? So right away, and I don't necessarily always recommend this technique, but this is what I do. You don't need this anymore. Delete it. So then you go in and you just go through a little further and just make sure that there's nothing left of this. So you don't have an input anymore. Delete it. This subgraph was using it. What were they using it for? Well, let's see where it's connected. We're using it to store the questions here. We don't want to do that anymore because we don't have this question. But we notice this is also connected to something else. Oh, we're using this to figure out how many questions there are. So if you take a look at the answers, those are actually the same length. So we'll just swap that in there because we're going to delete this questions also. And then we might want to go in here and that questions, that was just a list of our questions, right? That we were storing into a variable. Well, here's the variable that we were just poking at. So we might want to delete that as well. And what this does is it gives us a lot of these red boxes. So it makes it a lot easier to go through all of the subgraphs, scan through where these are, and think about the logic. Like, okay, why don't we need this anymore? We're just setting the texture of the question. We don't need to do that anymore. We only have one question now. So you can go through, delete that, and just pass this logic that was going to go through that all the way through. So, switching to the this or that and removing this question logic and stuff it's not going to be 100% simple. And that's why we're making the this or that template as well. But with this, I would just go through and look for anywhere that has those red or yellow or anything broken. And then once you don't have any of that anymore in any of your subgraphs, you can go back. Yeah, it looks like there's not really anything else. So that's all it really takes to remove the questions. I don't think anything in there would do anything with questions. Let's see. Yeah, okay, here we go. Here's the last one. So I think this is where you would be changing to the next question. So this is the one where we just removed that thing. So yeah, everything would be fixed there. The next thing you would want to remove is the score. So here's where you set the score as texture. So maybe instead of setting the score as texture, we do this. Alternatively, oh no. alternatively, there are hacky ways to like hide these things where the logic will still be happening in the background if you don't feel comfortable with visual scripting. um, like you could just turn the opacity all the way down or things like that. Just know that it's still going to be doing logic in the background, but that might be, for somebody who doesn't like visual scripting, that might be the better way. And yeah, so these are just some kind of methods that I do to like trim away that logic that you don't need. um, and yeah, and then with the scoreboard, that's another thing where I would just delete it, and then I would go through and find all the references and you know fix those little errors as well. But yeah, that's kind of what I would do. And then if you're at that point, you could, with the this or that, you could just save each of the textures that were the chosen texture. And then once you're finished with all six, you could have a counter that counts how many questions you've answered. And when it's reached six, you can display them on the side.
Yeah, now I'm wondering, because we have the text feature now, is there any easy way to put those as options as well?
Yeah, with the text feature, I think with yeah, that's a good idea. So with the way that this currently the this one and the this or that templates are kind of currently designed, they're going to be fading in and out the new questions or the new answers. So I would just use these answers where it says left answer and left answer background, and I would just put your text on top of it, and then maybe do something like just turn it off, and then this text can like take the place of it. And then where you would type this, let's see, let's just zero this out so that it is actually at that same spot. And then it should render in front. Okay, yeah, we have to. Okay, cool. So that's how you would put your text in, and then you can change it to whatever you want. And you could take this object and you could duplicate it then and put it on the right side. And then wherever you, here, I'll just zoom into this spot. So in one person quiz, when you go to the update and transition, this is what happens after you answer when it's loading the next questions. You could go into here, and then this subgraph here is set up the next question. And that is where you're selecting questions based on the next question ID. And this is a randomized question ID. So instead of using this, oh no, my mouse. Instead of using this get item from array with texture at 2D, you could get item from array string, and you could have an array of strings instead of this correct answers. I don't know if you want to go so far as to modify this. You could always, if you're just making your own effect and you're not making a template for other people, you could always just hard code this right into here. And we could switch this to strings and put it right in here. And then for item 1, test 1, and this is your list of lyrics. Yeah.
I think this is a mega tip, because one thing I keep doing when I'm creating a quiz effect is I create all of the textures, which is like the text. But then I realize I made a typo, or midway I'm like, oh wait, I have a better option. I want to change it. And then I have to go back to Photoshop, and then I have to recreate the asset, and then I have to export it as PNG and then re-import it. But now that we have this text feature, you can edit the options directly inside of Effect House, which I feel like makes the work 10 times more easier. I'm very glad that this happened. Hi, Joe. Joe came, left, and now he's back. Welcome back, Joe. But I'm sorry to tell you that this is the end of our office hours. August, this is the last office hours before the month of August ends. How do you feel?
Well, I feel like I'm going to die and I hate it.
Ah, August is being a little dramatic, but you get the sentiment. It is Tuesday already, or not yet. How is it only Tuesday? I don't know. My feelings also flip flop by the minute. But thank you guys for coming. As always, it was so nice to see you guys. We'll see you next week. Have a great day, guys.
Have a good one. See ya.